Welcome back to the channel, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to the channel. I'm out on the full moon, and then this is the full moon witching hour urban legend. What urban legend are you going to surprise us with tonight? Well, this full moon special is all about the werewolf, and I'm going to call it for its actual original name, which is WerWulf. It's an Old English Saxon English means man-wolf or wolf-human. I'm going to start by this as being a disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes. I will touch on the origins of the werewolf or werewolf. I'm going to, if I refer to it as a werewolf, it's I'll explain why its original meaning is werewolf. So it's W-E-R, but the E has a wee swoosh over it. And then wolf, which is W-U-L-F. Werewolf, because there's a space between them, they're not joined. Why are you calling it that? Because some of the original sightings and reports are recorded in the Saxon Chronicle. This is one of the very few urban legends that's actually, there's 3 in total. This is number 2. The first one was the school for hidden. That's Old English for those that are hidden. But I'm touching on the second one that's in the Saxon Chronicle, which is werewolf. And I'll get into why they're called that and why I call them that. I don't call them werewolf or wolfman or anything like that. I refer to it as werewolf. This one is a really good one. This is actually, it's actually one of my favourites. If I was to initially pick one, this would be my favourite. Because the other 2 are sort of like historical figures. Like my favourite is obviously Anastasia, and then Count Dracul the third. Anyway, we won't get into that because I'm here to talk about the werewolf. And this urban legend is quite an interesting one. I touched on the Saxon Chronicle, which was the main thing. I came out on a full moon, and we're out in the middle of buckfuck nowhere. Oh. The strange thing about this full moon is it's eerie quiet. I'm literally in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. Literally. Like I'm up beyond Ravenswood, because I'm going to be coming into Ravenswood, but I'm in a woodland that's beyond. It's a woodland I went into on way back in spring. It would have been a way back in spring. It's the day I kept on finding all these. It was the day I kept on finding all the skulls. Found loads that day, absolutely loads. So I had to put that, like, this is this is an ancient entity. This goes way back. This actually goes further back than the Book of Enoch. Like these, the werewolves are aye, this is a really old one. This is like one of the oldest urban legends known to mankind. This goes like, there's even Enoch even talks about them briefly in the Book of Enoch, which means that they had to have been around before Enoch, and asked for some divine guidance on that, and it got backed up. That got followed by a yay, not a nay, like, because there's a reason why the Book of Enoch is banned, because it touches on three ancient entities that modern day doesn't allow for them to be around, and I've touched on two of them. The third one, I'm going to have to wait until after the year. I can't do all these urban legends in quick succession, because the third one, I'm actually leaving it until after the year, because I've touched on so much this year. Like this year alone, I've the spiritual encounters and dreams and everything has been wild, absolutely wild, and it's all been since the encounter in the druid. I have no idea what is going to happen tonight, because it's a full moon. I'm literally in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. I'm up over past the viewpoint cairn. I'm in a woodland where I kept on finding skulls, and there was a massive badger sit. That's the woodland I'm in at the moment. Literally in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. I wanted to go to a woodland way out so that I could touch upon the werewolf, because how far out I am is if you were to encounter anything, like if you were to encounter anything, any of the three entities that are mentioned in the Book of Enoch, where I am, the likelihood is quite high, because there is the nearest, if it goes really sideways, what you call fucked. I'm what you call fucked. If it goes really sideways, I'm fucked. There's like, I'm literally in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. There is nothing around. Not like the nearest farm is like fucking 5 miles away. Like that's how, like, I'm literally like, I usually go into the middle of nowhere, and then I go into the back of beyond, and I'm further than that. Probably a bit too far out to be talking about something like this on a full moon, but hey, it's all good. So a werewolf is sort of like a shapeshifter, but not necessarily. It comes under a shapeshifter, but it's more primal than that. It's borderline on. I touched on it with the Nephilim, when the Nephilim did what they did with humankind. They also did things with creatures as well, and there's that's where the origin of the werewolf comes from. It's older than the Book of Enoch, because Enoch touches on it in the Book of Enoch. The original Book of Enoch, it's mentioned quite a few times actually. There are two, believe it or not. This will show you I've done my research, because a lot of people don't know. There is actually two types of werewolves. There's two different types. in case you didn't know. One is more like a wolf, and the other is more like a bipedal. It's on 2 legs. But there's one that takes the form of an actual wolf. But the wolf is what you would call bigger than the biggest alive wolf today. The one that the werewolf that takes the shape of a wolf is 2 times the size of that. It's almost the size of a dire wolf, and dire wolves were big wolves, and that's where we're going, because they did exist at one point. I've seen a skeleton of a dire wolf, and they're pretty big. They're bigger than a saber-tooth, and a saber-tooth cat is pretty big. Dire wolves were bigger, and then you've got the short-nosed bear. Now I might touch on another type, because there is 3. One's been totally forgotten about, but I'm going to I'll touch on the werewolf and the 2 different types. There is another one. But we'll get to that towards the end of the video, or maybe in part 2. There is a lot of notes. So the one that's more like a bipedal is it's more like a curse. It was like back at the founding times for these they're not even entities, because there's way too many reports and eyewitness accounts, and there is even some I don't know how I get some of these videos, but I get some compelling videos on this subject, especially the one that's more like a wolf, because there is another one, but that's more modern. That happened in the time of the Romans and the Saxons. There was another one, and that's the Dogman. So essentially there is 4, but I'm touching on the 2 original, because there is another one before. We will get there. So for the one that's like a dire wolf, is the old legends tell of Fenrir. Before he was bound away, he bit a man and woman, because it's both, it's male and female. You get male and female werewolves, which made them turn into a wolf-like creature. So these ones could only not even transform, but shapeshift under the power of a full moon. So it's technically 2 days. So you've got the night before, because there is like a 2-night, like you get the night before the full moon, and then the night after. There's 3 nights. You've got the night before, on the night, and then the night after. So this is some information that I did the notes for this way back in the middle of the year, because I was touching on coming into this time of year to do it. I wanted to do it on the November full moon. Strange. It's actually really eerie quiet, to be fair. It's actually like, if you ever get that feeling that something like the woods are just too quiet, that's what I'm experiencing right now. It's too quiet, because the walk up here, there was nothing. It was just dead silence. It's like it's like my own voice in this woodland is carrying, and it is making me a bit uneasy, because especially what I'm talking about. And I'm only at the beginning of it. So through the Fenrir, before he got bound away, the man and woman in which he bit, that man and woman had offspring, and obviously they passed it and passed it and passed it, because this is like in the original tales, not the modern ones, not the ones that have been rewritten and then rewritten and then rewritten and then rewritten. This is it's like the ancient scriptures on the Scandinavian pagan side. They spoke about this for a reason, because it's not like there's another culture that mentions them as well, and that's over the there's another two cultures. The Japanese culture mentioned them, and the Chinese original way back. The original Chinese, like, they also wrote about these as well, and so did there is other civilizations that wrote about them as well. Like there is Egyptian hieroglyphs as well. And what fascinates me with the Egyptian hieroglyphs is if there's a tomb that these are depicted in, and what they decorated the tombs in was very valuable. So there had to have been accounts and reports and like people seeing them, because you don't put them on a tomb just for a laugh. And that's where I kind of go, well, there's a bit more truth into this legend than the vampire legend. I could whatever. This one's backed up by like proper ancient scriptures, hieroglyphs, even the Sumerian tablets. Even the ancient Romans recorded about them, the Mayans recorded about them, the Aztecs recorded about them, the Native American culture talk about them, the Inuits talk about them, the African cultures talk about them. They have another one which is even interesting. The Inuits is the one where I'll go into number 3, because I'm talking about the two different types of werewolves. One that can take the form of a big wolf, and then the one that can stand on 2 legs, which is the one that's like a curse. I will get into that. There's a couple of them that I'm going to get deeper into. This might be a long one, but it's worth watching. Like this one's definitely worth watching. So the one that the third one that I'm on about can be achieved through ritual meditation in a hyper state of consciousness. Because the wolf, the werewolf, or the wolf man, it's sort of like a shapeshifter. It's a human-like creature. And there is back in the ancient times, the pagans and the Saxons and stuff, because you've got to remember back when the Romans were doing what they were doing, the Germanic tribes called on, because I mentioned them in the Count Dracul, the Wolves of Odin. Now that is, they even get mentioned in the Book of Enoch. I've got a funny feeling because it's starting to things are starting to get a bit mental, because it's starting to get really, really foggy. And this is one urban legend, especially under a full moon in the fog. Is definitely going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. Very interesting. The walk back down is going to be quite something else. As if it's I'm not hearing anything. I'm using my senses for this, and there's I did have a dream. I did have a dream about warning me about talking about this, but it is what it is. That's for me. It's not to be shared. So throughout history, they have appeared in some ancient wars. They got talked about. There's a Roman, the original Roman account of coming up into Caledonia, up in the Caledonian forest, is when the 9th Legion heard howls. That's a very true account, because I asked Divine for, did that actually happen? Yeah, it did. Because it didn't just happen in Caledonia, it also happened in the Black Forest as well, which is, even to this day, I would never ever venture into the Black Forest, because the werewolves that are in the Black Forest are not to be meddled with. Not to be meddled with. They're primal, they're old, really old. The same with the ones in Scotland as well. Well, Caledonia. They were old. They were really old. Because the Druids knew about them. Because when I talk about Celtic lore and deities and myths and lore, guess what gets mentioned? Werewolf. They're actually named something else, which is even more intriguing. But I'll touch on that when I do that one. Because the more up to date. So in World War I, there was actually both sides. Well, all sides, all parties that were involved in World War I, all had written reports of wolf-like creatures, or tall men that looked like wolves. And it was the same in World War II as well. One werewolf in World War II totally decimated. This was up in the Scandinavian territories, up and around the Arctic Circle. They got decimated by one wolf creature, decimated 3 battalions, a bit like in Romania with Count Dracul. That did actually get recorded. But some of the stuff I'm talking about is asking Divine. So if you think I'm then ask Divine yourself. I always say that. I'm on the urban legend side, and I will give actual history. It's not folklore. When it comes to the werewolves, way too many written reports. I was on about the Vatican having a space that's massive for Count Dracul, Well, the reports for Werewolf are even bigger, like even bigger, like, and it's rumored that they actually have actual like bodies and skeletons of the creatures, both of them, and they also have the third one that I'm going to be talking about, which is even older than the wolf. You'll really need to brace yourself for that. You'll need to brace yourself for when I talk about the third one. So a strange fact, and this law is still in place. This is straight up fact in the UK. This still holds to this day. A strange fact and law that is still in place today. This was set in place by Canute the Great. Ex-official ordinances aimed to ensure the Madui obnoxious werewolf does not too wildly devastate nor bite too many of the spiritual folk. So there is like an order that have to go around and ensure that if there is reports and rumours of werewolf, they have to be it has to be looked into, because there's, especially in the United Kingdom, because our accounts, now the Celtics and the Druids and the Picts, they're a bit like the Scandinavians, the Scandinavian pagans. They did have writing. And when they people wrote, it was because not many people could do it, especially back in that day and age. So when there is like reports of like when they've had written reports, and even the ancient Mayans and Aztecians and Native American culture and the Inuits, like, they didn't do much writing, but the writings that they do have, well, they mention werewolf, every single one of them, which is pretty fascinating, to be fair. Now that's a law that was put in place by Canute the Great. It still holds to this day. I did a check. I checked up on it. It still holds to this day. It's slightly worded different, but the original, it's still held to the original. All the pagan kings basically had to make sure that that law was in place, because it was one that was done by, it got really enforced by King Ecbert. So when the pagans were doing what they were doing, the Scandinavian pagans, when they weren't fighting amongst themselves, but they still feared when they were fighting amongst themselves. There were certain clans and certain tribes that they didn't mess with, and there's reason, because there's now the Saxons, they feared the Viking berserker until they came across the Ulfnar, the man that is at one with the beast. Now, Bjorn, the first son of Ragnar, he was a Ulfnar, the wolf wearer. There is rumours that they could transform into like a wolf-like state of mind, but not like the not like the shapeshifter type. Something way more primal, way more primal. The Scandinavian berserkers, now they feared nothing. They just embraced anything and everything. They just went. They were all in. Like all pagan armies, every member of the army, if they had an Ulfnar or Ulfnars, there's a reason why Canute put that law into place, and there's a reason why he's called the Great, is because at one point the Ulfnar were getting they potentially could have taken over, because they're a tribe, and they were a tribe that basically you didn't fuck with. You didn't fuck with the Ulfnar tribes, and there were 6 of them in total. If you want proper, I'm starting to give proper historical fact. Like, you can go and ask the Allfather to ask him if I'm lying about this. I ain't. There were 6 tribes, and all 6 tribes were feared. They were feared for a reason, because they were the wolves of Odin. They were the protectors of the realm. Now, the wolves of Odin it's a sacred order, and it is older than the sacred order of the dragon. Now, they 2 orders are way older than any other secret society known to mankind. The only way you can find out about the wolves of Odin is either watching this video. If you don't, this is a case of, if you know about this, you know. There were 6 tribes in total, and in modern day there is still 6 tribes of Ulfnar. There will always be 6 tribes of Ulfnar. They are the true protectors of the realm of creation against pure evil. Now, not all Nephilim were evil, but there was Nephilim that were really evil. And the reason why there's still 6 tribes of Ulfnar is not all Nephilim have been accounted for. And I'm stating something that is not wildly known. There is a reason why I'm doing this urban legend, because not all Nephilim have been accounted for. There is still Nephilim out there. It's sort of what the war in Afghanistan was over about, especially up in the mountainous areas. This is the middle of the video. I'm going to start giving actual facts. Now, the rumour of the giant of Kandahar, that's not a rumour, that's not a myth, that's not a legend, that actually happened. I got given I got a video. It was a good few years back. And I got the full video. And I will put my hand on heart, not all Nephilim are accounted for. The wolves of Odin. The 6 tribes, Odin put it into place when all the Nephilim are accounted for and dealt with. The wolves of Odin he'll take them away. Not all Nephilim have been accounted for. There's a reason why I did the Book of Enoch and the urban legend of Enoch, because the wolves of Odin are also mentioned in the Book of Enoch. The werewolf is mentioned in there. They're not. The Ulfnar is more like a spirit taking on, embodying the spirit and going into a complete trance. That's why the pagan, the Scandinavian armies feared them. So the second one, the one that the Native Americans, they also talk about the werewolf, but they have one. It's like a bit like the Ofner. It's when you can go into a deep meditative state. It's almost like astral projection, but slightly different. It's like an outer body, but you can only do that if you've been presented with a wolf spirit. And this is slightly towards the end of this topic, so I'm going to state, like, I have a wolf spirit. I don't talk about my spiritual animal. Like, I've got a wolf spirit. Like, ever since, like, a young kid, I've always, like, been guided by, like, I've got to keep my cool at times, because I can embody the spirit of an Ofner, and it's not like when it happens, like when I avoid getting angry. I try to keep inner peace because I have that Ofner spirit, and this is a case of if you'll know if you know. I try to avoid conflict as much as possible because I have that Ofner spirit in me, and I've never spoken about that. This is it's getting to that time. I'm going to move the hat dampens my hearing a little bit, but it's all of a sudden got really foggy. This could be an interesting one. I had a funny feeling this was going to be interesting. That's strange. The camera audio won't pick it up, but there's sorry, I need to check because hearing movement. I'm hearing movement behind me. I can hear an owl off in the distance as well. I'm actually quite glad it's very windless tonight. There's not even a breeze. every full moon for the past 6 months has always been, there's always been a breeze. And this is the first, what, like, I can call this a proper windless night, because on the outskirts of the forest it's just all fog. It's like there's like a bit of fog in the woodland, but I'll show in the video what it's like up in the valley. So we're going to talk about the actual wolf spirit. So it's like a, because they're like the wolf spirit, like there's male and female versions of this. Like a female can have the, like that's how there's Ulfner tribes. There's even Ulfner tribes to this day. It's towards the end of this video, so I can actually put that in. Along a good few years ago, back when I was this was when I was a teenager, me and my dad had a weird camping encounter with something. That was on, just had something touch me there. I've got a feeling that my dad's here as well. We had an experience on a full moon. It was down in Yorkshire. So I had a friend that stayed down in Yorkshire. She stayed in the middle of nowhere. Well, I call it the middle of buttfuck nowhere. It's sort of like a wee town. It's literally in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, but there's a really, really, really ancient woodland. And my friend, her family and my dad, we had an experience down in the woods. That was the second time I took my dad down to, because we used to stay for like weekends and weeks and stuff, because it was at this time of year that we had that encounter, which is why I'm doing it on this full moon, which is quite interesting, because that was back when, oh God, I would have been 13, 14, because we met on a it was one of the, I've been to Cyprus quite a lot in my life, and it was either the first or the second time I've been to Cyprus, because her and her family came on the trip that we went to see the pyramids of Giza and stuff. But that's where we had a, there's no other way of putting it. It was, because there's no wolves in the UK, so like when we were in this woodland, like I've only ever seen, like in the whole time like my dad was alive, and the whole time. I've been around since my dad was like, ever since I was a kid. He was scared of nothing. And there's only been 3 times I've seen my dad scared. That was one of them. That was one of them when we were in the woods, because the woods was basically, you had the family's back garden, and then there was like a wee barn. You went over a bridge, and then you were in an ancient woodland. Like, there's the woodlands that I go to are old. This woodland is even older. Even older. Very old. They actually gets it's actually written about in the Saxon Chronicle. It's actually the woodland where there is actually, like, in the Saxon Chronicle, it's the woodland that's actually mentioned in the Saxon Chronicle, because it's not that far from York, which is very interesting. Because the Romans even talk about that forest as well. Anyway, the wolf one is really interesting, and it's towards the end of the video. So there was, like, I talked about the third one. So the third spirit is the bear man. This one's really interesting. I might actually do a second video on it and cover some other things about the werewolf as well. But I don't like calling it the werewolf. I call it WerWulf. So there is another one where it's a bear. A man can take on the physical form of a bear. That's the Inuits speak about that legend, and so it's all the Mongolians talk about that legend as well, and so do the Scandinavians, the Scandinavian pagans, the pagan armies and the Scandinavian armies back in the day. They spoke about that. They became a part of the Ulfner, because there was a few of them that could take on the shape of a bear. That's what Bjorn was said to be like. He had the spirit of a bear. Because he used to wear a bear pelt. The first bear that he took himself out in the middle of nowhere and came back with a bear pelt, and he used to wear it a lot. But he got classed as an Ulfner, and that's why he never ever became king, because he was an Ulfner. Basically, a wolf, basically a wolf of Odin. Basically, the Ulfners were. That's where the legend of the Ragnar Lothbrok's bloodline was given by Odin, because it's I share some of that genealogy. I'm literally in the middle of buttfuck nowhere, and I can hear a voice talking. It's not mine echoing, because it is so eerily quiet, but I can, from time to time, I can almost hear like there's someone talking in the background. Right, this one's went on for quite a bit. I do apologise. I'm going to come on and do a part 2, because I don't want this going on for a while. So come join me on part 2, the continuation of the urban legend of Werewolf and Bear Man. I've got a couple of other things that I'm going to touch on. So come join me on part 2. It's just basically a wee bit of continuation from this part. So brothers and sisters, thank you for watching, and most importantly I want to thank everybody for their support and continued support. It means a lot. It means an absolute lot. I've reached a goal this year that it gives me the drive to keep doing the journey through the veil, because I've got a few other videos tonight that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to do a part 2, and then I'm going to be a part 2 of the Werewolf and Bear Man and Wolf Spirit, and then there's going to be another video where I'm going to talk about a couple of things, because there's been a few things that I've not spoken about for a while, and I'm doing it on the full moon, because it is my new year as well, which is pretty cool. And I'm going to share some divine revelation. I've got the notes for that. That video is going to be interesting. So come join me on part 2 of the continuation of the Werewolf. Come join me on part 2. Peace.